All right, we can get started while people shuffle in. Kit, if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. My name's Emily Hughes. I am the marketing lead at Mobilize. I'll be hosting today. We know the world is very rapidly changing around us, but that the intensity of your work has not slowed. We're fully prepared to support your efforts. A couple requests before we get started. Please remain muted so that attendees can hear without distraction or interruption. By default, you should be muted as you join, but if you accidentally unmute yourself, there is a little microphone icon in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and you can click that to turn your sound off. We are leaving plenty of time at the end for questions, but as we go through this presentation, you can leave your questions in the chat feature, and I'll collect them and ask them to the team at the end. We'll also send out this recording as well as 2 other webinars we did this week focused on nonprofit virtual organizing. We'll likely send them all out tomorrow, and feel free to share those with your colleagues. Next slide, Kit. Just quick agenda on this call. Our partnerships manager, Rosen, will talk about some specific strategies that we're seeing clients adopt and tactics we've seen be particularly effective in transitioning to those strategies. Then our senior client success manager, Jocelyn Strauss, will lead a demo of our current virtual capabilities. And then senior product manager, Jess Matthews, will talk about the virtual first enhancements we're making to the platform as we speak. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Kit.
Great, thanks, Emily. Hello, everyone. As Emily said, my name is Kit Rosen. I am on the partnerships team here at Mobilize. I'm really thrilled to be participating in this webinar because I was looking forward to meeting so many of you at NTC, which was obviously supposed to be this week. And in lieu of those conversations, we've set up a series of webinars. So I want to really thank you all for calling in today and say that I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation after this webinar. Should you have any questions about what a partnership with Mobilize would look like, or product things, anything like that, really excited to get to know y'all. So before we dig into specific examples of how, excuse me, we've seen our partners organize virtually over these past couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll continue to do so over the next couple months, we want to let you all know, of course, what we are. So as you can see on the screen, Mobilize is the go-to event and volunteer recruitment platform for Democratic campaigns and progressive organizations. So what that means is that we are powering everyone from electoral campaigns, small local campaigns, all the way up to presidentials, and then most notably today, C3s and C4s to really do their mission critical work. So we're seeing small statewide C3s and C4s all the way up to nationals are using Mobilize to supercharge what we call their field program, but really any way that you are engaging with your volunteers and advocates, we are enabling you to do that through Mobilize. We'll talk a little bit more about that today. We're really excited to have you. That is what we are in a very small nutshell. So we had a lot of questions about this on previous webinars, so we don't want to get too much into the weeds, but something that's really important to know going in is that we are a software that sits on top of whatever CRM you are currently using to organize and segment the data you have on your volunteers. So we included this slide in here to preempt any questions about what we are, about whether or not we are CRM. We typically sit on top of the CRM that you are already using. We do see that some of our small partners exclusively use us as their CRM. That works for some folks. For others, we work really well and are really compatible with, again, the CRMs you are already using. You see a whole host of names on the screen. And what's really exciting is that we have a roadmap, as you can see on the right of the screen, for integrations that we are currently building. Jess Matthews, our product manager, is on here today. She is the brains behind all of those integrations. We can chat a little bit about that later if y'all have any specific questions. And then the last piece, holistic piece that I want to get into before we talk about specifics is the customer success that we offer at Mobilize. So something that's really special about Mobilize, aside from the software that we offer y'all, is our customer success team. We are built, so I'm on the partnerships team, but our lovely customer success team, of which Jocelyn Strauss, who's on the call today, is a member, is built exclusively of former organizers. So every single person on our team has experience either at an advocacy or a nonprofit organization organizing and mobilizing your supporters. So aside from the implementation and the technical support that we offer, we are really excited to constantly serve as a thought partner to all of our partners to give them strategic advice, both when they first join with Mobilize and then through the duration of your time with us to really help you make the most of your software and help you implement the software into the strategy you already have and really grow it from there. So with that, a small sampling of who we are, and now let's get into the weeds of virtual organizing, which is what we are going to focus on today. So right off the bat, we do want you all to know that ahead of this time of social distancing, we have really always been optimized for virtual organizing. So before the last couple of months or the last couple of weeks, when we obviously saw an uptick in virtual organizing, ahead of that, we actually had almost 1 million. So you can see on the screen, we had 700,000 signups for virtual events through Mobilize. So this is something we've always done. This has always been part of the bread and butter of our software. And we are really excited to continue optimizing our software for those virtual engagement opportunities. The other thing we're seeing is that in the past couple of weeks, our site traffic has been as high as it has ever been before, which shows us that all of your volunteers and folks all over the country are still really eager to participate in events thrown or hosted by causes and organizations that they care a lot about. So more than ever, we're sitting at home, we're lonely, we miss our friends, we miss our family. We're all really eager to engage with each other, which tells us that organizing is as important now as it's ever been. Some quick fun facts that we like to throw out. At this time, we've had over 1.6 million volunteers use the Mobilize site to find a volunteer opportunity that is meaningful to them. When you choose to join our network and partner with us, you get to benefit from that network that we've already built because your events will now have the eyes of the 1.6 million volunteers that are already using the Mobilize platform. Another one of my favorites is that we see that 5 to 10 hours are saved weekly per staff member when you join with Mobilize. So through a series of features that we can chat a little bit about today, Mobilize is taking a lot of the manual labor that y'all are doing now. So whether that's one-off calling or texting your volunteers, sending emails to make sure they show up, we are taking that off of your hands and saving time for you. As a former organizer myself, I know how important this is, which is why I love this stat. Last number I'll focus on here is you see in the bottom right, it says we have a less than 15-minute average response time from our client success managers. So I talked a little bit about our customer success, our team of former organizers. We're really proud that we track how quickly we respond to clients. This is very important to us that we get back to you in a timely manner. Our average time for responding to any client questions, whether strategic or technical, is fewer than 15 minutes. So rest assured that when you join our team, we know how important your work is, and we are constantly working to get back to you and answer your questions as efficiently and quickly as possible. Moving on, we're looking at this graph here. We wanted to give you a visual of how popular virtual events are right now. So ahead of COVID-19 really hitting the US and affecting all of us, we saw that about a quarter of the signups on the Mobilize platform were for virtual events. We're now seeing that 90% and even higher, probably since we pulled this data a couple of days ago, is for virtual events. So people are still really eager and excited to take part in events. And obviously the vast majority of them are now all virtual. So let's get into the meat. The main purpose of this webinar today, or at least what I want to impart to you, is all of the creative ways that we are seeing our partners mobilize their supporters virtually. So for the next couple of minutes, I'll really just run through a list of our favorite ways that we've seen folks doing this. So feel free to take notes. As Emily said, we'll send this out after, but we hope this will get your creative juices flowing. first thing we're looking at here is seeing how the Virginia Democrats are helping to, what they say, protect the vote. So obviously we've all been seeing how different states are changing the rules around mail-in ballots. Obviously a lot of states are pushing their primaries back. It's very confusing for voters to know how and when to vote right now, and of course to do it safely. So the Virginia Democrats are taking the lead. They are hosting virtual phone banks. So from the comfort of my own kitchen, I can make these calls to ensure that my neighbors and everyone across Virginia knows how and when to vote. This is something that I do not have to lift a finger to do this. The Virginia Democrats have been mobilizing folks for about a week now, and they've had tremendous success in getting folks all over the state to make these really important calls. Next idea here is a state Senate candidate in my home state of Massachusetts. They are doing a great job asking people to text to get out the vote. So even less effort for some of us texting rather than making a phone call. So this is a virtual text bank. They're asking folks to sign on. You can see that they're having all day shifts. So if I say I'm going to participate Tuesday between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., whenever I have a free hour or half hour, I sign on to the software that this campaign has provided to me so that I can shoot out a couple texts to folks and lists that the campaign has got for me to encourage folks to get out the vote, for Meg Wheeler. So similar to that virtual phone bank, this is a virtual text bank that we're seeing folks all over the country do. It's really important that you're providing all of your advocates or volunteers with the information necessary to actually participate in those text banks. And that's what we're really here for, to encourage you and help you figure out where to insert that information in all of your content streams. This is a fun one. So this is all about the census. I filled mine out last night and I felt like such a good citizen. And today I might make a couple calls to encourage my neighbors to do the same. So what we're seeing a lot of groups, especially nonprofits, do is sign up to make phone calls to call people all across the country, because this applies to everyone, to say, A, did you receive the information to fill out your census in the mail? B, do you have access to a computer or a smartphone in order to do so? And C, do you need any help? So if there is a language barrier or anything like that, ensuring that everyone has the tools they need to fill out that census. The deadline is quickly approaching, so this is one I feel really strongly about. We're highly encouraging all of our partners to do this, and we only have a couple days left. Training. So all of those trainings which we offer to our supporters, so whether it's how to be a good neighbor, how to be an advocate, how to make a call to your member of Congress, all of those trainings that y'all are already hosting to equip your volunteers with the skills necessary to be an advocate or a volunteer, you can absolutely do remotely. So we're seeing the Joe Biden campaign for president, and then two advocacy groups, both March Forward and Swing Left, are both providing virtual trainings for all of their volunteers to, again, give them the skills they need to accomplish whatever that long game mission is. This is also something that we're seeing, be especially popular right now, as folks do have the time. We're sitting at home, a lot of us, and we do have the time to really up our advocacy skills. So people actually think, I have a couple hours this week. This is a good time to make sure that I know exactly how to do X, Y, or Z, so I can advocate for whatever cause it is I really care about. I just know in my experience in advocacy, a lot of folks are really shy around calling their member of Congress. I'm encouraging all of our partners to set up those trainings to help folks figure out how to make those calls most effective, and folks have been really responsive to that. Special guests. This is a fun one. So we're seeing that bringing in special guests for a volunteer call gives our partners a huge uptick in RSVPs. So the examples we have here are the Elizabeth Warren campaign brought in their campaign manager, Roger Lau, for a call. And then of course the Bernie Sanders campaign actually had Bernie sit in on a call. That's really fun for supporters, but it doesn't have to be a presidential candidate. We're seeing that even having a super volunteer on a call, or one of your board members, for example, to call in to provide what we call a little bit of insider baseball, just to remind your volunteers that you really care about them. You're willing to take in the time to bring someone else in, give them perhaps a community update, and really assure your volunteers that you care about them. You know how important they are to the foundation of your organization. As I said, we saw that for a lot of our partners, they had pretty average RSVP rates, and then they do something exciting like this, special guest, they tweet it out, they email it out, and then their RSVP rates just really soar up. This is one of my favorites. So this is all about community building. I think that just anecdotally, this is especially important right now, again, as we're all social distancing and really craving community. We saw that All on the Line did this really fun book club. So they encourage their folks to read a book. We're seeing other organizations just send out an article and say, great, take a look at this book or this article, let's reconvene in a week or two and discuss it, perhaps even over a meal time or a coffee break. So folks actually feel like they're breaking bread together and discussing a piece of content that's important to everybody. We also saw that this congressional campaign invited folks into their virtual field office. This was very, very popular. So they had all of the organizers. So for C3s and C4s, obviously you would tailor this appropriately, but they had all the organizers on Zoom just answering any questions from the volunteers about how the campaign is adapting to social distancing and what type of events they could look forward to both virtually and then when hopefully we've brought COVID-19 down and we're all able to convene again. I think I have one or two more. So this is two examples again of community building events. So this is similar to either the book club or convening around an article. We saw that some candidates were having e-lunches. So we have a collaborative podcast, which is basically a half hour of conversation generally led by the candidate or led by the organizer, the president of the organization. And then folks are all sitting together. They all have their own lunches on their own kitchen tables and they really assure themselves that they are a community despite the fact that they're not able to meet in person. And then this last example is just a volunteer leader call. So again, these examples are really important to assure your volunteers that you really do appreciate all of the time and efforts that they put into maintaining the organization and assure them that they really are stakeholders in the foundation and the success of the work that y'all are doing every day. I think this is probably inherent to the whole presentation, but all of these events were pulled from Mobilize. So our customer success team, if you do have any ideas that you want to replicate any of these, we are here to help show you how to set these very events up through the Mobilize platform. Oh, I even have more. Two more, both community events. I went a little crazy making this presentation. This is another reading event. So again, it looks like March Forward in New York sent out an article from The Atlantic that they brought folks together to read. And then Swing Left, who creates very creative events, did a virtual letter writing party. So everyone set up their Zoom, sat down, wrote letters together, hopefully over coffee or tea. And you basically just sign up for a shift so you can ensure that other folks will also be on the Zoom call at the same time, and you will have folks to chit chat with as you write those letters. Great. So I am going to hand it over to Jocelyn. Jocelyn, is your computer and Wi-Fi all set?
Already.
Great. So I will stop sharing my screen and you'll go ahead and grab it from me.
All right. So I'm going to give just a quick demo and walkthrough of what some of this looks like when you're actually using the platform. So I have here just a demo dashboard to kind of show off a couple specific events. The two events I'm going to look at today are both virtual events. We have a Take Action Now type of event right here. And then we also have a shifted event right here. And so I'm going to walk through what these look like. One is a take action immediately and one is a sign up for a time. I'm going to open up what it looks like on the back end of that event feed. This is going to be the dashboard that you would be working off of. And to create a new event, you would simply select either the virtual volunteer action or the shifted virtual event. These are the two types of virtual events that we have at Mobilize. One is the virtual volunteer action, which is something like a take action at any time or immediately. It allows a volunteer to sort of do the work on their own time. We've seen this really successful with many of the examples that Kit has mentioned before. Any sort of pre-recorded training or really any action that requires some sort of virtual digital access can be done with a virtual volunteer action. So fundraising is the example that we have that we'll walk through. And then a shifted virtual event is something more time-bound. Again, it is virtual by nature, there's no location, but someone can take action with you all and easily find a time that will work for them. So if you're having a monthly meeting or a training, this would be something like a shifted virtual event. So looking at the take action immediately, this really fun for your community, I'm going to go ahead and click edit to kind of show you what it looks like to create the event. We allow lots of fields for you to put your event together with the event name and the description. This description clearly outlines what the ask is and what you'd like people to be taking action on. We definitely love lots of photos. As you saw in the event feed, there's a lot of different interesting photos. This helps increase the likelihood people will take action with you. And then in this registration confirmation email for folks who schedule themselves into an event, they're really, really easily able to find a time that's going to work for them. Maybe I see this come through on Facebook, but I'm in the middle of doing something. I can still schedule myself to take time to take action here, and I'll show you how that works. But then you have the URL to redirect and actually make sure that if somebody wants to take action immediately, all they have to do is click on that button and it will take them to the action that you are asking them to do. And you can set whatever you want that action name to be. So taking one step back, I'll show you what that looks like to sign up on that event. So this is the Act Now type of virtual event. I can pick a time. And so again, if I'm busy, I know I want to do this, but I don't have time to do it at the moment. I can find a time later on and just register and sign up that way. I always have to include my information. And then I can copy it, share it with a friend, make sure that other folks know about how important this event is. I can also sign up immediately. So if I want to just donate now, I can click on that and it's going to direct me exactly to the URL that you've included for them to take action. So similarly, we have the virtual event that is actually time-bound. So I'll do a quick walkthrough of what that looks like. This has one singular shift on it. And if I click edit right here, you'll see a lot of the similar fields just as the other event. The biggest difference here is that there is no URL redirect because this is something that you're asking people to sign up for that will happen in the future. So you want to make sure those registration confirmation emails have all of the bits of information that you would like to include. So this one including the Zoom link. I can then sign up for it very simply by clicking sign up. You can read more about the actual event. And upon signing up, I will be encouraged to, again, share with my friends and make sure that they come to this webinar that's going to teach me how I can take action within my community. So those are the two types of virtual events I wanted to cover. The only additional piece I'd like to just show is the actual management of the event. I kind of alluded at that earlier. You have access to view all the people that have signed up for the shifts. So whether it's a Take Action Now or a shifted virtual event, you'll have access to the folks that are signing up for your event. You can email them directly from the platform. And there's an entire sort of sequenced cadence that confirms and actually can close out the event to make sure that the folks signing up for the action get a feedback loop with you so they can let you know how the event was received and communicate anything that they want to share about the event, which is tremendously helpful in this world where we're suddenly doing a lot of technology. You can definitely open it up and make it easier for your volunteers to take action with you and let you know that they've taken and communicate anything around the technology as well. So that is my quick demo, and I will stop sharing and kick it back over to Kit to screen share.
Great, thanks Jocelyn. Sharing my screen again with y'all. And then Jess, you're ready to rock?
I am.
Great.
Hey everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the product updates that we are either already making or have already made, and how we have generally, as a product and engineering team at Mobilize, adapted to the new world we find ourselves in. So historically, our attention has been divided between the in-person events and virtual events capabilities. But for the near term, we're going to be overwhelmingly focused on optimizing the virtual experience and doing things that really aid online organizing, as you already saw through some of those use cases you already saw. And we've already shifted a lot of our engineering capacity away from in-person specific features to further improve our virtual toolset. Next slide. Something about Mobilize, which I think Kit and Jocelyn have touched on, is that we are constantly improving the discovery and sign-up experience, and we're going to be continuing to improve that discovery and sign-up experience, so the feed and the experience on sign-up pages for virtual events. One of the things that we've already done is we've made it very, very clear that you can take, that your supporters can take these actions from anywhere. And we'll continue to make these sort of constant improvements in this virtual environment. Can you go back a slide, actually, Kit? Great. There, perfect. Thank you. So one of the big investments that we've made this year was event suggestions. So suggesting more actions that a volunteer can take after they've signed up for an event. And we've seen that this really continues to be impactful in the context of virtual events. So 10% of our shifts over the last week, while we've seen that huge spike in virtual activity, have come from those event suggestions. Another big investment we've already made is in this sort of bring a friend feature, what we call the bring a friend feature. So asking volunteers if there's anyone else that they'd like to take action with or volunteer with, prompting people to share and invite others. We're actually saying that this continues to be very powerful even for virtual events, and generally drives around 15% of signups, even when those signups are virtual. So two things that have always been very powerful for taking action in person continue to really be powerful for virtual events. So what are we doing in the short term? If you can go to the next slide. So in the short term, we're going to be improving the discovery and sign-up experience, as I mentioned, highlighting that you can take these actions from anywhere. We've already seen a lot of our volunteer hosts use Mobilize to host their own events on Mobilize through things like virtual house parties using Zoom and Hangouts. They do that through our distributed organizing suite. We will be adding to that tool set to more directly support virtual events with a real focus on helping volunteers preserve their local communities, preserve connections within their local communities, and host their own events within those communities. We're also updating our language for automated emails and SMS to further reduce friction and really highlight where there are remote conferencing instructions and other things. So really want to make sure that we can continue to have great engagement with those communications and reduce that volunteer flake rate even further. Currently, we feel like we reduce that by upwards of 30% through these automated communications. So we want to make sure that those are really clear and effective for virtual events. And next slide. Perfect. So what we're going to be doing in the longer term. So based on what we've seen, we know that virtual organizing will continue to be a major part of our roadmap considerations for the foreseeable future. We're going to be continuing to help people recruit their friends through social tools that are optimized for the virtual experience. We're going to be investing in communication tools to help supporters connect with their hosts or their event organizers or others online, other attendees online through things like group chat, which you can see there on the right, and our messaging tools, which are already available in the dashboard. We'll be exploring new integrations to help make virtual organizing easier. And you can expect to see further updates to just better support virtual actions like petitions, further features around fundraising and social media campaigns, all sorts of virtual activities that we want to try and enable through Mobilize. So last slide. So in summary, Mobilize, we believe, is already set up to be the best solution for virtual events. But we are already shifting our focus, as you can see, toward making virtual capabilities even stronger and more nuanced in the near future. And we'd love to hear from you. If there's anything here that you want to hear more about, or that you'd like to see more of, or any ideas that you have that we can do to really help you organize online, we'd love to hear from you. We rely on feedback from our partners and being real thought partners with you to build this product to make sure that it's what you need. So Emily will be sending around a feedback form after this webinar, and so we'd love to hear any thoughts that you have. And I'll kick it back.
Guys. We have not had any questions come up yet, which is totally fine. I think these three probably did too good of a job at going through all this. If you have questions, throw them in chat. I'm going to run through a couple kind of frequently asked questions and then one pretty big announcement. Actually, we can start with the announcement. We are offering free access to our core platform to 501c3s for use on any COVID-19 relief work. And we're doing that through the end of May. So we've already had a bunch of nonprofits sign up for use, and they're doing some amazing relief work that we're really proud to support. You can find that on our site, but we'll also send that form around just for you to enter your information, and then our success team will get in touch and get you up and running. You also, if you do have questions that you don't want to ask now, if you go to the Mobilize form that you used to sign up for this webinar and you message the host, that's me, it'll go directly to me and we'll be sure to get that answered. I will say two questions that we see come up from nonprofits a lot are, one, what sort of technical support is needed to get on board? We have a lot of nonprofits that work with everyone from college students to 70-plus-year-old people, and we've designed the platform to really work out of the box and be simple on the organizer side and the volunteer side. And as Kit mentioned, giving Jocelyn a good shout out, we have an amazing success and support team who are here to answer questions on either side. So that is not a barrier to entry that we have seen before. Another one is that we know are facing nonprofits, especially right now, are the need to drive up donations. Budgets have been cut. People are not donating as readily. That is something we've integrated into our platform. So when someone signs up for an event to volunteer with you, you can make it automatically prompt them to donate through Act Blue, which is kind of a crowdsourcing grassroots fundraising platform. And we see that of people shown that prompt, 15% of them initiated donation. So it's a great way to kind of merge your messaging to donors and volunteers and kind of treat them as a more cohesive supporter. With that, feel free to ping us with questions. We will be sending around recordings and all the forms that we mentioned, including the one to get free access to the platform. We also will follow up directly with the ability to consult with our nonprofit specialist on the team. So you can come to her with specific issues you're facing, and she can work through them with you one-on-one. With that, your passion and generosity are exactly what the world needs right now. We're really grateful at the opportunity to support you, and thank you for joining today. Bye, guys.